Hi, I'm Matthias. In this lesson, I'm going to cover two very important techniques, Hammer-Ons and Pull-Offs. A lot of beginning players struggle with these, but using proper form will make them much easier to play. Let's start by looking at Hammer-Ons. To play a Hammer-On, in its simplest form, all we need to do is start on any particular note. In this case, I'm on the 4th string at the 3rd fret. We're going to strike that first note with the pick. And then what I'm doing is I'm using my 3rd finger, and of course whatever song it is, scale that you're playing, that'll determine what fret and what finger you're using. But in this case, just to keep it simple, all I'm doing is just striking that very first note. And then with my 3rd finger, I'm going to literally hammer it down right there just behind the fret. So the location where it ends up, it's just like you would be playing that note as if you were picking it, but it's going down without the use of the right hand. Now, what's key in getting this hammer-on to sound correctly is it's not how hard you press the finger down. It's how quickly the finger moves down towards the fretboard. For instance, if I start with the first note, if I move the finger slowly and put a ton of pressure, I can push down really hard. I can put the neck in a vice grip. I'm not going to get that note to sound. But it's the speed, it's the velocity of bringing that finger down. Now, a lot of times what'll happen when I work with students is when I tell them to move that finger quickly, what they'll do is they'll play the first note and then really fast go to the hammer-on. It doesn't matter how much space you have. In fact, that first note can die out completely. There doesn't even need to be a note sounding. All you have to do is whatever note you want to hammer on, there's no right hand involved, and then that finger is just going to go down very, very quickly. Now, let's look at the actual mechanics of what's going on with the fretting hand. When we're playing a hammer-on, what we really want to focus on is the active joint, or what's supposed to be the active joint. In this case, since I'm using my 3rd finger, the active joint is going to be the knuckle right here where the finger meets the hand. So I want to try to keep both the middle joint as well as the tip joint of that finger very relaxed. I don't need to have any extra tension at all. Simply just motion right there where the finger meets the hand. And the muscles that actually control that are located back in the forearm. So if you do a lot of exercise with hammer-ons and then pull-offs and trills that we'll get to in just a second, you're going to feel that back in your forearm. At least you should, assuming that you're moving from right there and these parts of your finger are relaxed. So just when you're starting out, just pay attention, make sure it's moving just like that, and it's just a very quick motion, just going right to the note that you want to hammer on. And here's just a basic blues sequence using hammer-ons. And here's the sound if you don't use hammer-ons. I'm going to pick each note. So sometimes it's cool to articulate everything, but if you want to work your hammer-ons, just a little bit different sound right there. Next, we'll look at pull-offs. Playing a pull-off is essentially the exact opposite of playing a hammer-on. What I'm doing in this case is I'm starting with my third finger on the 5th fret of the 4th string, and then I'm going to play that note with the pick. And then the pull-off, even though that's the official term, what we actually want to think of is a pluck. We want to grip the string with the 3rd finger, and we actually want to pluck that string. So the finger's going to move down towards the 3rd string right there. Now, the best way to do this is to make sure, before you do the pull-off, to try to get the 3rd finger over to the side of the string just a little bit that's closer to your face. So the one closer to the ceiling right there. If we're too far over this way, we might not get a good pull-off sound. So we want to be just a little bit to this side of the string, and we're going to get a good grip on it, and then we're going to pluck the string, and the finger will go in towards the palm like that. Now, what you also have to be careful for is to avoid sounding the adjacent strings. So if you'll notice my index finger right here, it's very flat. I'm not barring, I'm not pressing down right there, but it is touching that 3rd string. So that when I pluck right here, when I execute my pull-off, that 3rd finger, of course it's touching the 3rd string right there. It's right next to it, I'm pulling down into it. But it's muted by the fact that my index finger is right there, so it's not sounding. So if I start it again, start the first note with the pick, and then pull off. For pull-offs, we're doing the same descending, or same blues sequence, but this time descending, and just picking that first note. Then my pull-off, which is really a pluck. And if I want to articulate everything, has a little bit different sound. And when I incorporate pull-offs with everything, now we'll combine the two. When you combine hammer-ons and pull-offs, they can really make your playing a lot more fluid. And what technically is going on right here is, if I do a hammer-on, and I know I'm going to follow it by a pull-off, since a pull-off is going to start from this side of the string just a little bit, towards the bass side of the string right there, my hammer-on is going to land right there, and then pluck right there. So you can think of the pull-off as the second half of one motion. So we have this motion that originates from right there, and then we're simply just bringing the finger down. And remember, it's all about speed, and then plucking. Now, when we do that in a rapid sequence, that generates something that's called a trill. And working with trills is a really good way to develop your hammer-ons and pull-offs. Again, I've said it before, it's about speed. It's about speed. You don't want to do it so hard, because if you tense up that finger and try to just put a lot of pressure into it, you're not going to get a fast trill. It's all about relaxation. Hammer-ons and pull-offs are two very valuable techniques that are often executed incorrectly. Remembering it's about speed, not strength, will make them easier to play. To learn more about hammer-ons, pull-offs, and other techniques, check out my metal guitar method. I'm Matthias, now go forth and rock.